Ariel Helwani for MMARated.com, and we are continuing our tour across this great land. Today we're at the TriStar Gym in Montreal, and I'm being joined today by George St. Pierre's trainer, Firas Zahabi. And Firas, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure to be with you.
All right, so we're rapidly approaching a huge fight for GSP, UFC 87 title fight against John Fitch. How has his training been thus far?
His training has been very regimented, very strict. This is his title defense, second time around. This time we want to get it right and make sure he defends the title. His training is going normal. You know, we train hard all year round, but now we're getting closer to the fight, and we're starting to peak more. There's more MMA sparring, less general sparring, such as boxing and kickboxing. It's more specific enough for MMA. We've had sparring partners come in from all over, including Denny Kang, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who's in our minds the #1 kickboxer in the world, pound for pound, and we're getting us ready for a new George St. Pierre, a new improved George St. Pierre.
You mentioned that this is his second title defense. Unfortunately lost the belt to Matt Serra last year in April of 2007. What are you trying to do differently this time to not make those same mistakes again?
It's a physical game. You know, we're doing a lot of different physical things, getting George even in better shape. Skill-wise, we're adding some new tools. And mentally this time is going to be different. The first time when he won the title, he thought he would, because he was champion, that it was a given that he was going to win. And that was an error on his part, our part. It won't happen again. For us, August 9th is just another fight. It's just another world title. It's an opportunity to win another world title, not an opportunity to take it for granted that we're champion.
Now, George, after the loss to Matt, talked openly about going to a sports psychologist and having to deal with the mental aspects of the game. Is that still something that he works on, or is he past that point right now?
All athletes at this level should be seeing a sports psychologist. There's so much pressure. You know, it's not fun to say, but if you lose too many in the UFC, you're out. And then you got to go fight in the smaller shows for years maybe. And you got to beat somebody tough in the smaller shows to get back in. It's not easy to get in. And once you get in, it's even harder to stay in. Staying in is very hard, and you need somebody there to help you with your mental game because there's so much pressure all the time. Every fight is a big fight. Every fight is your biggest fight.
After the Serra loss, he comes back with Josh Koscheck, a great win. Then he comes back, defeats Matt Hughes. Then the huge victory in Montreal, UFC 83. Now you have a guy in John Fitch who's not talking a lot of trash. He's, very respectful, just going about his business, won 15 in a row. Is it hard to get up for something when there's for this fight when there's not all that extra added the beef between the fighters, so to speak?
It's true. We feed off the hype at the same time, and John is not giving it to us. But in a way, we respect that. We're the same type. We don't talk trash, so we understand that. And the motivation for this fight is that, if John Fitch wins, he becomes the record holder for most wins in a row in the UFC, and we don't want him to do that on our clock. We'd like him to have that prestige, but not on us. And for George, if he wins, he finally defends the title. So we want that really bad. That's our motivation. Trash talk is more superficial. It doesn't motivate as much as those two components.
What are you expecting from John? Because he is really developing into a true mixed martial artist. I mean, he's great in all facets of the sport. That said, what are you expecting from him on the 9th?
I expect everything from him. I expect striking. I expect wrestling. I expect jiu-jitsu. He just recently got his black belt. In my opinion, George is a black belt. He's been offered to receive his black belt already before. He's denied it. He doesn't want a black belt yet. He still wants something to strive for and attain. He's his #1 critic. He's never happy with his game, and you could see a guy like that, why his game is so well-rounded, so meticulously well put together, because he's such a perfectionist. And if he doesn't feel in his mind he's a black belt, he won't accept a black belt. In our mind, George is the best on the ground. We think he's going to have the advantage there, and he's going to have the advantage standing up, and he's going to have the advantage in wrestling. John Fitch is a tremendous fighter, but I think George is just a few steps ahead.
I don't want to look ahead, but we've heard some rumblings from BJ Penn saying that after this fight, if GSP wins, he'd like to face GSP possibly in December. What are your thoughts on a potential rematch against BJ Penn?
I think it's going to happen. I don't think BJ is going to lose anytime soon, and I don't think that George and him are done. I think they're going to have a second fight, but I think the second fight is going to be a lot different than the first. This time, George is not going to push the fight the same way. We're going to have a different strategy. We got to see more of BJ now. We understand more of what he does and how to deal with that.
That's a huge fight. Is it possible that, with it being talked about now, that you could be looking past John Fitch?
No, never. We just think about John Fitch every day. John Fitch is our #1 thing we think about in the morning, in the evening, in the afternoon, night, all the time, 24/7. John Fitch. We talk about him every day, and we think about him every day.